Hey, I was just spending some quiet time with the Lord, worshiping with my guitar, singing just praise to Him, just soaking in His presence. And as I was doing that, the Lord reminded me that tonight is a special anniversary. And so I was just sitting in that and recalling that, crying in tears. If you have followed any of my journey with my dad leaving earth and going to heaven 2 years ago, and how the Lord has walked me through that grieving process and the things He's continued to unfold, the Lord put it on my heart to just go ahead and share this really cool story and testimony of the Lord's goodness for whoever needs to hear it. So this is November 19th, and it is the eve of my oldest son's birthday. He was born November 20th, 26 years ago. And 26 years ago, I was a 17-year-old girl, and I was in the hospital. I went to labor and went to the hospital the eve of tonight, November 19th, and I was at the hospital. Labor had started, and my dad, when I told him I was pregnant, he was really upset by that and just stopped talking to me. And that night, I was in the hospital in a very small town, the town right next to the town that I lived in. I grew up in and lived in this small town, and then I went to this very next small town to the hospital to have my baby. Well, my dad didn't work in that town. He was a prison guard, and he worked in a different town. But that night, he was at the same hospital that I was at, and he was guarding the prisoner there. And I don't remember the detail of how he found out I was there. I don't know if my mom had told him. My parents were divorced. I don't know if my mom had told him or if he had walked by and saw my name on the door or something. I don't know. But the more I have gotten to know God, I'm always saying on my channel, there's no coincidences. So here was this 17-year-old girl in labor who hadn't talked to her dad because he had basically disowned her, and I already had a lot of shame and guilt being a pregnant teenager on top of that. And it was just really painful, when he did that. And, but the Lord did a beautiful thing. And, my dad was working there that night. So he found out I was there. And as I was sitting here tonight playing my guitar, I could picture him coming in and poking his head in my room. And I wasn't mad at him at that moment in time. I was really glad to see him. And it's really sweet to have that memory now that he's gone home to heaven. And I can't see him in front of me, but I can see him in my mind's eye. And so he went home and showered up and got cleaned up and came back. And I remember he brought my grandma, a couple other people from the family. They were all waiting out in the hallway, waiting for the baby to be born. And the Lord just made this beautiful reconciliation at that point in time. And it's not a story where everything was happily ever after and perfect, etc. But for that moment in time, I needed my dad there. And the Lord made a way for him to be there. So I just want to encourage you guys that don't give up praying for those really hurtful places in your life. Don't give up praying for those relationships that have been really hurtful. The Lord makes a way. He hears our prayers, and His timing is perfect. And here I am, 26 years later, and it's such a precious memory to me. So I just pray that the Lord would do the same miracles in your life, because I know now I can look back and be happy for that precious memory. And I don't regret that my dad wasn't there. And when my dad was on earth, I'm sure he never looked back and regretted, being there for the birth. And it was a happy occasion. And for that moment in time, we had joy and we had peace, and we got to share that very special moment. So also the message is forgive one another and love one another the way that Christ loves us. Be blessed. Thanks for listening.